Welcome, everyone, to the Win Now podcast, hosted by Deborah Byrd, founder and CEO of Plug and Play SM.
I am so excited for today's show, so let's go.
And then myself, Todd Bookspan, founder of Win by Noon.
I see so often it's like a chore. People just they're asking, okay, what do I want to post this week, or what are we going to post this month? And they're just like checking a box versus, to me, the pros really pause and like, all right, what is it that we're even creating content? What do we want to be known for?
What was I did with my family that was just amazing, that I want to make sure that I repeat again this quarter. And so I would schedule that time now, because the further you get from this, then it's the law of diminishing intent, the less likely you are to do it. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Win Now podcast. I am Todd Bookspan, the founder of Win by Noon.
And I am Deborah Byrd, the founder of Plug and Play SM.
And we are off. We are going to talk today. It's mid-year. I cannot believe it's already mid-year of 2026. And I feel like we all understand the idea of business planning at the beginning of the year. Now I think most people start business planning, some people as early as October, November, for sure, December. And I love your suggestion that we really talk about not just the mid-year review, but then how do we readjust and how do we action plan for the rest of the year?
Yeah, when I was thinking of just the title and topics for today, I kept thinking the mid-year pivot, like where, because you always think of how you want the business to go for the year, or even try to project numbers based off current numbers and what do we think, especially if you're in mortgage or real estate, but just the number of homes sold and okay, if we know this is going to happen and where rates could be. And so sometimes it doesn't always pan out. What we've seen with interest rates, and I've heard some people say, go ahead and prepare and expect them to go up to 8%. They're not coming down. And then you hear some people saying, oh no, they're going to come down to 5%. And so regardless of the noise, how do we then make sure that we're doing the activities based off, one aspect is looking back and reflecting of, okay, what worked, so that I know what to double down on if I want to reach the goals that I set at the start of the year. With never allowing oneself to adjust the goal, it's more of what do we need to do differently, which is like very difficult to do, by the way, if you don't track your activities, which is what I love about your planner, Todd. I'm not just saying that because we're on air right now, but most tracking systems are only the results. So then you never really know what were the activities that I took to get the results that I got, whether good or bad.
There's so many ways I can respond. And I think the most important thing is, as you just said, is activity leads to results. And we all know it's about the actions that we take, and we have to be okay with that. The actions we take today are going to create a result. The question is whether it creates the result we want or the result that we're frustrated by that we've already been getting, right? The whole idea of that, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over again and expecting a different result. And, I had an interesting observation. I was talking to my team this morning. I do my group coaching program, and it's split up a third people doing 5 loans a month consistently, a third people who've been in the business for more than a year and are struggling to do 5 loans consistently. And some of these people have been in it 10, 20, 30 years. So they're veterans like you and I of industry. And then I've got a third that are brand new. And it's no surprise that when we have accountability and people are having to turn in their numbers every week, that my third that are consistently doing business, guess what? They're turning in their homework every week, right? How you show up here is how you show up everywhere. The newbies, it's about a little over half to 2/3 every week are turning in their homework because they're trying to be really good. And of my people in the middle, I'm just going to say my people in the middle, I'm going to leave it at that. It's 10% are doing the work, turning in the homework. And so the question is, I think it's you get the results based on what you're actually willing to do. It's the whole, you got to inspect what you expect. And that starts with you looking in the mirror. And so I definitely would start there. You're right. Tracking is everything. And so what are the activities that are important to you that you need to score yourself on a daily basis?
Can I push back on one thing?
Of course. That's what this is all about. Give me push.
The definition of insanity. What did you say? What's the famous
doing the
quote?
same thing over again and expecting a different result.
The only thing I would say and to that is if you had a different attitude or perspective on the thing that you're doing, meaning like from a creating content world or anything marketing wise, maybe it's your post-closing sequence or funnel. I see so often it's like a chore. People just they're asking, okay, what do I want to post this week? Or what are we going to post this month? And they're just like checking a box versus, to me, the pros really pause and like, all right, what is it that we're even creating content? What do we want to be known for? they just ask different questions and they go about it with more intention, where it may be the same activity, but now it's not just like done. It's I'm going to actually show up and I'm going to engage with my audience and try to create community and not post and ghost and then bitch and complain that I don't have enough leads or likes or comments.
Yeah, I think that's it. And again, I'm a simple person. I used to be Mr. Complexity. I used to make things so difficult for myself and trying for perfect. That's why I call it the ideal week. I don't call it a perfect week. But I used to always look for how to make something harder than I had to. And I built into the planner the quarterly review. One is there's a weekly review for a reason. It forces you at the end of the week to sit there, look back, how did I do this week, right? So, and I always say you got to actually start with the day. Like, how did I do yesterday when I'm getting ready to go to the next day? That's why I total up my numbers every single day. But at the end of the quarter, I actually like it because it has a couple of things, right? And I can send this to someone if you want. Just reach out to me, Todd at Win by Noon. But ultimately, it has the fill your bucket list, right? This is the quarterly review and reflection memories that I created this quarter, right? You don't need my planner to do this. You can just do this in your book, right? Personal accomplishments, business accomplishments, and other things I don't want to forget. And I learned this because when I was a coach at Building Champions and a client at Building Champions, especially when I was a client and we would sit on the beach every single December. We did the same thing every time for every year. I did it for 10 and a half, 11 years. I was a member of the group for 8.5 years and a coach for a couple of years. And we sat there and we had to reflect. And I realized it sounds really bad, but it was hard to remember all the cool little things that I did during the year with my family, because that was a life planning reflection. So we're looking at just personal stuff. So I love that I force myself to do it every quarter, and I'm doing it every month. And then it's got keep, start, stop. Really, it's more of a KISS, keep, improve, start, stop, right? Personal stuff I want to do this quarter and did not. Business stuff I wanted to do this quarter and did not. People I wanted to connect with this quarter and did not. Project milestones and steps I wanted to complete and did not. And other areas I need to improve on. And then this is just on top of the fact that at the end of every month, I'm doing hey, what do I want to keep doing for business? What do I want to improve that I'm doing that needs to be better? What do I want to start doing that all my friends are doing and I got FOMO about? And then what is it I have to stop doing? And so really, if you take that basic framework of the keep, improve, start, stop, and you really just look at that at the end of a quarter after totaling up your numbers, I think you nailed it. You got to track the numbers. You have to be intentional around it, and then look at your conversion rates, and then that's how you can determine what do I need to course correct on, right? What do I need to, what you said, pivot, right? So of course I think of Friends because my daughter loves Friends and the whole pivot, the Ross pivoting with the couch. But I think it's really important that people look at that, because if you don't spend the time mid-year, you're going to get to the end of the year and go, gosh, how did I get here? 6 more months went by and I didn't quite get there. But I heard you say, but don't change the goal. So talk about your perspective on that.
I've been guilty of this where especially and I know we did an episode around reflecting on Q1, but I feel like that's the quarter that goes by almost the quickest. And I think it's because February is the short month. And it reminds me of how we even started this segment where you're like, can you believe it? We're already mid-year. And so I feel like you could end up saying that probably at any quarter, but when it's Q3 or Q4, like you've ran out of time. And so life seems so busy, and it does seem like the days get shorter and shorter, that if you don't force yourself to stop and do the weekly reviews to the monthly reviews to even the quarterly reviews, then that would be like watching the Spurs beat the Thunder with if there were no scoreboard, that wouldn't be a fun game to watch because there's no scoreboard. So obviously the goal is to win, otherwise, or win whatever the year, whatever goals that you had set. You picked those for a reason. Why would you change them simply because at mid-year you may be off track? What we should do is look at, okay, what did we do to get to this point? Like, what's back to your KISS, what's working, what's not working, what do we need to do differently? There should be some pieces of evidence that has helped. Now, it may also reveal, like with my current clients right now, I've gotten to this point, Todd. I'm like, the only thing I want you to track, the only thing is how many qualified partner meetings you're having every week. That's the only, I don't want to hear about leads. I don't want to hear about apps, fundings, because there's been a huge avoidance or allergy of like meeting with prospecting and actually having meetings with qualified people that can send at least one referral a week. That's what makes them qualified. Doesn't mean that they're going to qualify right away, but they have to at least be able to send you one introduction or referral. And if you're not doing that part as like the most basic business development building skill, then I don't care about the rest right now, because I hear a lot of clients talk about how they need more business. And here we are mid-year. This is prime time. This is when Spring and summer is when we get majority of transactions. I know you don't always count them that way for your own business, Todd, but like Q3 and Q4 is when it usually, like after 4th of July, it starts to slow down. So don't change the goal, change what you're doing that's getting the results that you don't like and double down on what's working. And what may not be working for you is you're not tracking or even consistently meeting with qualified referral partners every week. That if you just made that one change and you only tracked that, because I hear people say, I'm too busy to track, I don't know what to track, it's too difficult to track. Okay, then just track how many outbound partner meetings are you asking for and how many are you actually having, that at the end of the meeting you ask for their commitment of, can I rely on you to send me at least one referral a week? And just track that for at least a month. And I'd be amazed of what your business could look like.
Again, simplicity matters. I think that that is really where most people lose it. You're trying to keep track of too many things, right? So I love your qualified referral partners, because in the end, it's a numbers game, right? So for me, let's use your metric. And if I had been tracking that for the first 6 months of the year, and let's pretend I was at 75% of my referral goal. So I wasn't quite, or I'm sorry, of my closing goal. So I wasn't not nailing my closing goal mid-year. But I've been watching this one metric that matters. All you just need to do now is fine tune it if you know what you've been doing. So if it's been 4 a week and you're only at 75%, then you've got to boost that up by another 25% to get there. So you're going to you're going to overdo it. You're going to have to push to 6 a week so that now you can get on track for what you're trying to do in order to get there. It's just a math equation that if you're tracking, then you know what work you've put in, and then you know what the course correction is to keep the goal the same. I agree with you. You can't just go, I'm only going to get there. I thought I was going to close 100 transactions. I'm on track to close 75. 75 is my new goal, so I can give myself a pat on the back, a participation trophy at the end. I think you got to push yourself and figure out, well, how do I get back on track? How do I make up the 25% I'm behind and still actually start closing the number I need? And it's just going to be doubling down on what you're doing. Not sexy.
The very extreme story I usually tell in regards to, especially when someone's pushing back pretty hard, like they feel like it's way out of reach, and is I lead with, okay, how many closings would you need this next month or this next quarter that would get you on track to your goal, or even double your goal, whatever that number is. If you found out this morning that someone came and stole your kids, and sometimes depending on the audience,
This is extreme. I can tell where we're going.
if a sex trafficking, like someone came in, stole your kids, and all you know is they're with sex traffickers, and you will only get them back at the end of 30 days if you've doubled your closing goal. And if just know every day that you don't meet that goal, like they're there doing God knows what. And again, you may never get them back if you don't meet that goal. We would all work 24/7, 365 as hard as we can, going to Home Depot, finding people renovating their home. You would call and work diligently. And so I always say, imagine if you just that level of intensity for 1 hour a day before noon by executing your theme days, if you showed up with that level of intensity and intention, I'm not asking you to do it all day, but no one argues with me that they wouldn't try and do all the things that they already know to do, that they know will work, but they're allowing themselves, and maybe it's ego or fear or whatever it may be, it's getting in the way. And so if you had something worthwhile, a big enough why, that you could care two shits of what someone's going to think of you. If you're holding a sign on a street when you know there's 3 open houses, that's lender for hire. I don't care what you have to do. You would do it. So it's like most already know what to do. They just don't have the big enough why. So maybe you have to create the story in your head, maybe not as extreme as mine, but you know what to do it with intentionality, make it 1 hour a day, do it before noon, eat the frog early, and you will get the results that you want and probably even more. So don't sell yourself short. You got this.
Yeah, I love that. My financial mentor and coach, Brett Tanner, said there's nothing in my world that happens that can't be solved after 12:01 p.m. And so it gets the whole idea of doing that. So I think if you're one of the people then who, hopefully you're scared by Deborah's extreme example, but if you're one of the people who's like, wait, but Todd, I didn't track my numbers in the first half of the year, I would know a couple of things, right? The best day to plant an elm tree was 20 years ago. The next best day is today. So it's the day to start figuring out what it is that you're going to keep track of. Are you going to do Deborah's qualified referral partners? For me, it's going to be dials or texts, right? So it's the activity of reaching out to people, quality conversations. So I actually talk to about something. Although I heard Jeremy Forcier talk today about that he also wants to have an ask in there, which I thought was an interesting way to up the grading of that. And then live meetings, like who you met with, right? Those are all connections, right? The quality conversations and live meetings could be over Zoom are connections. Start tracking that today and then look at your results, whatever that is, whether it's listing appointments, buyer consultations, getting a lead call as a loan officer and getting an application. You can just look at the result side of it afterwards, but focus for now on the actual activities you need to do. And you could probably get a gut for it if you can think about just last week alone. Like, how did I do? What did I do yesterday, actually? Let's look at yesterday first. Okay, here's what I did yesterday. Okay, what did I do? What did I do last week? Okay, great. I can think through that and then just be intentional and set a commitment for the number of that activity you're going to do going forward. So if you're taking Deborah's advice and just going to focus on qualified referral partners, great. If you have 0 last week, let's start with 1, right? Don't start with 10. If you had 2 last week, then let's make sure let's push it to 3 or 4 this week, right? If you're already rolling that way, and then start looking at it at the end of every day, total your numbers up, right? How did you do? And then I would say, if you have something that's divisible by the number of days you work in a week, I'm going to assume you're going to work 5 days a week. And so let's pretend that your number is 10, right? So for me, my goal is 10 quality conversations a day. And so I'm going to look at it. And if I only did 8 today, then tomorrow I'm going to do 12. I'm going to add 2 to it. Even if 2 days ago I did 12 and I did 8 yesterday and I'm on track for my number, I just gamify it for myself that I always add more. But you've got to make the commitment and you have to truly know that when you get to Friday and you're not there, that you're going to work until you get it done. And then if my wife called me down for dinner on Friday evening, I say down because I'm here in my Club 44, my attic that I work in, I would actually then put in some hours on Saturday. I hate to say it, I don't want to do that, but that's what I would do. And what's the why, right? For me, my why is, I haven't told anyone this, Deborah, but I've got tickets to see the Eagles play the Jaguars in London. And we're going to bring Giselle. She's going to go to the game with Tar and I. And she doesn't know it yet, but we're going to go to Disneyland Paris. So that's my big why, right? And I want to go to
That's
Disneyland
why
Paris.
you were asking about that.
Yep, and I'm going to buy the pass where I can get the lightning lane for every ride. I don't know what it costs there. It's $400 a person in America, but guess what? I'm going to put in some extra work so when I get there, because I'm not going to go to Paris and stand in line. I want to go ride every ride, and I don't want to have to wait. Call me spoiled, but that's okay. That's a good why, and it's going to make me work harder going forward.
Ooh, I love that. That's great. Anything else that you would say from a pivot standpoint that you want to kind of wrap up?
Let me just throw out the offer, right? So if you go to winbynoon.com, you click on whatever plan or whatever industry you're in. There's real estate, mortgage, insurance, and executive, which is has recruiting added in there. So if you're a leader, the executive plan would be the one. Click on the one where you can get a monthly subscription, and then you type in the code TRIAL26. We're still going to get all your credit card info, so I apologize for that, but we will send you a planner for free. And then if you don't like it, you just send an email that says, please cancel. We'll still be friends. Guess what? I won't even know you canceled. It goes to Arnie, my right hand. But I'd love you to give it a shot. If you're like, hey, that's great, I don't really want to spend the money, because I promise you, once you start using the planner, it's one thing to get the planner and not use it. But if you get it and use it, I have 100% certainty you will make more money, and then you'll keep subscribing. So what I find is, don't take it the wrong way. If you're someone who's listening to this and has canceled, you canceled because you didn't use it. And I bet you would have made more money if you did.
And we'd love to hear the success story. So track your success and then share your feedback with us. We always like to know what's been implemented and that's worked, and maybe what hasn't worked. That feedback helps guide future episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. So last thing I'll say to wrap up, and then I'll let you give any other, maybe that was your wrap up. But number one is you got to schedule time to do this. You're going to need at least an hour, but I would actually maybe consider doing like 3 hours. Do a few hours and really push yourself. Get a blank piece of paper and just ask yourself those questions, right? What really was impactful for me last quarter? Like, what gave me the energy? What was I did with my family that was just amazing? What was really awesome that I want to make sure that I repeat again this quarter, right? Think about those things that give you the dopamine hit that you're like, hey, that was pretty freaking cool, so that you actually get it done. And so I would schedule that time now, and I would just schedule it this week, because the further you get from this, then it's the law of diminishing intent, the less likely you are to do it. I know for me, I will, by the time you listen to this, have sat down and done this for the quarter, and I can't wait to see what I write on that paper, because it puts a smile on my face, but also then motivates me, because I will have gaps. I will have the things that I wish I would have done that I need to make sure that I have happen in Q3, and I would love you to do the same.
You know what I also do I usually do this at the monthly review, but I will go back through. I usually go to every day and just briefly look at my calendar to see, was there anything that I missed that maybe I didn't have in my Win by Noon planner that I want to make sure I remember. But I also go through my photos, like my screenshots, and I am the one that will take photos at events. And you and I have both heard Phil say the people who take photos and then never look at them again. I used to be that person, but I feel like my memory Like I only have so much room to be able to hold important things. And it like every month I'll go back and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this, or oh, this was a great moment with the kids, or a funny moment where I had them zoom in and look in my nose at something like I thought I had cancer. And so I'll see nostril pictures on my.
That's amazing. Those will be great for when they get married to put up on the screen.
So don't forget to go back through your photos or even your digital calendar when you're trying to remember some of the things that have occurred from day to day that you may have forgotten, was my point.
I love it. I love it. As always, we are encouraging you to take action. I know that you have a life that is great already, but could be slightly better if you just are a little more intentional and you take a little bit of action going forward.
So all you have to do is win now.